What's up, Bengals fans? Football Ball here, and today I'm breaking down Duke Tobin's press conference at the Combine. Our general manager joined Zac Taylor for their annual media session, and I have to say, I came away a lot more optimistic than I expected. Based on the Bengals' history, it's rare to see them at least willing to go all in, even with some restrictions. But with Joe Burrow hitting Radio Row and making his superstar expectations very clear, fans were concerned about how management would respond. Duke opened the conference by admitting last season was a true failure in terms of expectations for their championship roster. He acknowledged the reality of their current situation with how many good players they need to pay, and he was truthful that the Bengals would be trying to retain all players, but also made it very clear that it's ultimately a negotiation where both parties would need to work together for the organization's well being. Now, their way of doing business is clearly not changing. That hard headedness about modernizing their contract structure remains, but Duke made it seem like the organization is at least willing to not insult players with their lowball offers. Now, we did get some key updates on the player situation, starting with T. Higgins. His comments regarding T made it clear that they're very confident that they can re sign him. They previously tried to extend him, apparently, but issues with T's previous agent made the matter a little more complicated. T was actually tagged yesterday, making it clear that both sides might be a little further apart than we think. But he was never going to see a second of free agency as he could have gone wine and dined, and as we all know, that could have been a very dangerous thing. And the Bengals see the value in retaining him as a very valuable asset. When it comes to Jamar, it's obvious that he'll be the highest paid non quarterback in the league. Duke was not shy to make that his first comment, just like Justin Jefferson also did, became when he renewed his contract with the Vikings. The contract talks last season apparently broke down over some guaranteed money, but after the season that he had, Jamar being the youngest Triple Crown winner, it certainly puts the Bengals in a position where they have to pay him what he's rightfully worth. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson's situation appears to be a little different since he has already renegotiated with the team. I'm sure his agent regrets that now after Trey led the league in sacks this past year. Duke also mentioned wide receiver Jermaine Burton, whose character issues have been at the forefront of some discussion since he was drafted. Duke remains optimistic that Jermaine will figure things out, but noted he cannot want it more than the player wants it for himself. The talent is definitely there, as we've seen a few times on the field, but whether he can overcome the personal issues, that remains to be seen. He also discussed cornerbacks slash former safety Dax Hill, who's coming off an injury. Dax struggled in his early season as Jesse Bates' heir apparent, but those struggles seemed to fade a bit last season when he would move back to a more familiar position, corner, before he got injured. Duke praised Dax's growth potential and a performance prior to the injury, which should leave fans very optimistic about his career down the line. Our latest standout running back was also highlighted. Duke admitted that they never intended for his workload to be as high as it was, but Chase was used to it from his Illinois days, so he handled it like a champ. This explosive player is well on his way to becoming one of the NFL's premier running backs, coming just short of a 1,000-yard running season, but still amassing more than 1,200 total scrimmage yards last season. So Bengals fans should be optimistic about the outlook of Chase Brown's career, especially as they might draft a second back to help them out to make sure that his workload is balanced. Another short yardage back would be very good. So that remains to be seen. A comment was made regarding the offensive line being half of our explosive offense, to which I would argue the offense succeeds despite a mediocre O-line. The guard play hasn't set the dish for Joe Burrow since he was drafted, and it's surprising that this is still an issue following their Super Bowl run where it became their Achilles heel against Aaron Donald and the Rams. Yesterday, Alex Kappa was released. Our famous Triple Crown winner finally is off the books. And I understand that Duke wouldn't criticize his players publicly, but any football fan knows the Bengals still have an offensive line problem. They hopefully plan to address this by cutting players in free agency. In conclusion, the press conference ran for about 29 minutes total, with the usual questions about contract situations being asked in multiple times in multiple different ways. Duke stood firm and shared his thoughts as openly as he possibly could with media and the fans. Overall, it left me optimistic about the organization's direction. Of course, actions are way, way better than words, and a lot of work still has to be done, but I feel like the Bengals will be both different and a better team next year. This is the most important offseason of the Joe Burrow era. Hopefully, the Bengals are able to maximize their current situation to go ahead and win a Super Bowl. That's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think of Duke's Combine comments during this dreaded draft season. I'll see you here again for another episode of Football Ball.